Hi guys, hope you're having a great day.
Hey guys, we Sprayed and Sheila,
Yeah.
Hatfield McCoy Museum, FS Investigates. Uh, Hopefully, this don't bore you to death. This is going to be our last Daniel Penny video. We've got some new stuff, so if you think it's all the same stuff as the other 2 or 3 videos, it's not. There's some new stuff, and some of it we're going to go over again. But we feel so committed to take up for this young man, and the way he's been railroaded, and the way Alvin Bragg has used his authority in the criminal justice system to charge an innocent man, a victim himself, and could have been more victims had he not stepped in.
Mm-hmm.
And due to, like we talked about in the first video, was a squeaky wheel getting the grease, or the screaming people that says shut the subway down, and him being a political figure where he's elected to office and trying to please. He's definitely not living up to the. Anyway, I'm very disappointed in the prosecutor. It's you don't have to cater to the screaming crowds. You go with what the justice says, and we got some notes here. We're gonna try to just go over our notes, because if I start talking, watch your grin. If we start talking, I'll get off course, and so we're just gonna play your first video, babe.
Okay, I'm gonna show you this first video here, and it's dealing with Mr. Bragg, I think.
I want to get into this story out of New York City that has a lot of people talking. It concerns the death of 30-year-old Jordan Neely. You probably already know this story, but I want to do a quick recap. So Neely was a homeless man who was actually acted as a street performer at times, impersonating Michael Jackson. A lot of people in New York City might have recognized him. But he was somebody who was also suffering from mental illness, and he had even agreed to 15 months of mental health treatment after a prior arrest. In fact, talking about his past criminal record, it's been reported that Neely has had 42 prior arrests in the past 10 years or so for offenses such as trespass, fraud, having an open container of alcohol, even assault. That includes an alleged assault of hitting a woman as she left the subway back in November of 2021. He was on a special New York City watch list as being one of the city's most at risk, and was considered a danger to himself and others. Now, Penny turned himself in. He was arraigned in front of a judge last week on a second-degree manslaughter charge, which carries up to 15 years in prison. It is important to note here that the Manhattan DA's office opted not to take this to a grand jury. Instead, the DA filed a criminal complaint. This will have to later go to a grand jury for an official indictment. So Penny hasn't actually entered a plea as of yet.
You know, this is when it's first going on, guys. Alvin Bragg, or a member of his office there in Manhattan, actually went and filed probably what's called an information that an attorney can file, prosecuting attorney to file charges himself. Don't normally happen. Normally, you'll take a criminal case to a grand jury, and you'll let the grand jury decide whether there's probable cause there to indict the person and send it to a trial and hold him accountable. This prosecutor took it up on himself. I'm going to go ahead and file charges with the stroke of a pen. He charged Mr. or Sergeant Penny with voluntary manslaughter or negligent, whatever it was. He charged him. Anybody has seen the video, and most have. You can come to your own conclusion. You know, this gentleman here, he said he's been charged 42 times, and he says, open container of beer. It's also been reported he was charged with kidnapping a little 7-year-old girl.
Yeah.
He punched. It's back when those things were going on in New York, where people were just walking around. They would just punch people out of the blue and see if they could knock them out in one punch. And he had done that to an elderly man, an elderly woman. we'll get to the warrants later on, but there was warrants out on him, active warrants for pushing a woman in front of a subway bus as it come through. You know, he mentions homeless. Everybody for some reason mentions a homeless mental man. Does homeless or rich make a difference when you're being threatened? You know, this guy got on the bus or on the subway and hollered at, "You're going to kill him. I'll kill you." That was his words. "I'll kill you." Because he's homeless, should we take that any less serious?
Yeah. Yeah, no, he got on there and he told him that he would kill them. He didn't care to die and he didn't care to go to jail.
Didn't care to go back to jail.
Yeah.
Didn't care to go back to jail. Now, why would you tell somebody you don't care to go back to jail? You want them to take you serious. You want them to know, well, this man's already been in jail. This is a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
He don't care to go back. He's done been there. He done that to intimidate. He done that to threaten. You know, homeless man stabbed and killed three other people just beginning of this last week.
Exactly.
3 more people being killed by a homeless man. Does it matter if they're killed by a homeless man or a man that owns $1 million home? They're killed. Are we to think the victims could care if he was homeless or not? Does them victims really care, those 3 that's dead? You think they really care if they got killed by a homeless person or a mental person or a rich person? They're still dead.
Exactly. They just followed him around. They didn't do like Mr. Penny did.
Yeah, they was afraid to, Sheila.
They're still watching the outcome of Mr. Penny's case to see what happens on it. So they don't want to be in the same position he is. So they just followed this gentleman around and watched him stab 3 different people.
Until they saw a police officer and pointed them out. They were afraid to intervene. Exactly what's going to happen if this case comes back the wrong way. There'll be no more good Samaritans.
And that's going to be sad.
People's not going to step up to help nobody.
Not if they're going to be punished for it afterwards.
What about, we was talking in our last video, and we're going to just touch on it here briefly, but Narcan, naloxone, the ingredient that's in Narcan, naloxone, that says that you should watch that person for 2 hours after you give them Narcan to make sure that they're breathing. 2 hours. You should watch them.
Yep, they're supposed to be monitored.
And it's a low amount, but there's people that's allergic to Narcan or naloxone.
Rare cases, yeah.
But that could be one of the rare cases.
It could be. They
didn't look at that. Bragg, the medical examiner there, the medical examiner, guys, listen, she lives in New York.
Okay.
She's a New York medical examiner. She lives there. They're out here riding. They're shut the bus down. They're out on the subway. Yeah. They're on the tracks.
They're on the tracks blocking it. Yeah.
Shut her down. Shut her down, they say. If you'll notice in the background there of me and Sheila, you'll see those are karate gis from back in the day. And this is one thing that we know something about this topic today, and that's why we're so involved and inspired to talk to you and tell you a few things, because we do know a little bit about it. But this lady that lives in New York, the medical examiner, did she want these people? Did it ever cross her mind? Well, if I say this was Narcan, if I say this was sickle cell, if I say this was an overdose of drugs or K2 spiced up with whatever might be on it, anything from rat poison to pesticides to get a high. If I say it's anything other than this, will they come to my house? Will they threaten me? Will I be in danger? I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
It might have.
But do you think she didn't think about that?
I'm sure she did. With them already doing rights and stuff at the time of the event, that probably played a role in her decision.
Degree's not a big deal anymore. Everybody thinks because she has a degree and she's a medical examiner that you got to take her at her word. Alvin Bragg's got a law degree. You know, it used to be people thought that law degrees were hard to get, all this and that. Now you look at Bonnie Willis and Alvin Bragg and Letitia James, and goodness sakes, guys, I should have been a lawyer if I'd known it was that. Okay, she's kicking me under the table. I got kicked. Oh, I'm hurt.
I saw.
Yeah, I saw. Plenty of reasonable doubt. She says it was asphyxiation. Well, you know, asphyxiation, you're not getting air. Asphyxiation, you're not getting air. And they keep every news channel, they keep calling it chokehold. That's people that's ignorant as far as what hold he was really in. He was in a rear restraint hold. Rear restraint hold to restrain him. Sometimes he might put pressure.
Right.
Sometimes he might not. Didn't matter, because if the elbow's in front of his chin, and we've shown this before, look at all the pictures. I meant to bring one over, babe, and I forgot.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Look at all the pictures of Penny with him in the sleeper.
Yeah.
Sleeper, for lack of a better word, but not a choke. It can put you to sleep. It can make you black out. He was alive when the police arrived.
They said he had a heartbeat. You could hear them say that.
And breathing. He was alive. Sickle cell, I'm going to make this quick. I know we're touching on some of the other things, but we've got to do that in case there's a new viewer and they haven't seen the other videos.
Okay.
Sickle cell crisis is a common, painful complication of sickle cell disease. It happens when sickle cell builds up in the blood vessel and causes a blockage. The red blood cells, the oxygenated blood cells that's going to your brain are blocked off. Sickle cell blocks them up and they can't get where they need to go. And it causes you to go into an attack, schizophrenic attack, whatever you want to call it. And the worse it gets, the worse the attack, or the worse you fight, or the worse the sickle cell event happens.
Yeah.
From reaching your tissues and organs. The blockage keeps oxygenated, rich blood from reaching your tissue and organs, resulting in painful symptoms. Can result in death.
So when he was fighting back with them and Mr. Jordan, when Mr. Neely was fighting back with Mr. Jordan, that made his symptoms worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
According to everything that Sheila and I bring, we're not medical professions. We're not. We didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, did we? We didn't stay at a Holiday Inn.
Oh my.
What do we know? We know common sense.
Yeah.
We know and we know there's some smart people that watches our channel because, well, it's ours. I was going to say Sheila's channel. I'm so used to saying that.
It's ours.
Yeah, I've almost commandeered it.
Same. It's all good.
It's
We're a team, babe.
She said she couldn't quantify the amount of K2 in his system. K2 is synthetic marijuana, which is usually laced, or spice they call it.
Yeah.
Laced with something. Remember in the 70s, 60s, 70s? Guys, I'm coming down with the flu again.
Yep. As you can
So
tell
I'm
in
sick.
his voice.
But 60s and 70s, LSD, and lacing marijuana with angel dust, different drugs back then. Now they're doing the same thing, but they're doing it with rat poison.
That's insane.
Spraying it with insecticides and letting it dry and then smoking it.
Ooh.
My Lord. Wonder why he was so crazy.
Oof.
Said she couldn't quantify how much he had in his system.
Okay.
Then how can you call it the chokehold? How can you blame it on a so-called chokehold? I get so tired of trying to correct that, but again, it's not a chokehold. It was a restraint, but call it what you will. But
with the K2 in his system and the disease that he had, that is like compounded right there. That's two things
now
that works against him.
Good job. The K2, the sickle cell. Now let's add the Narcan.
Okay.
Let's say he's allergic to naloxone. That's three things.
Mhm.
But,
So.
you know, she said that she couldn't tell that he had a heart condition, that he didn't have a heart attack. Well, she couldn't tell for the first day or so that she couldn't come up with a reason for the death
Mm-hmm.
until she saw the video,
Right.
saw him with his arms around his neck, restraint hold, but thought it was a choke hold and said, well, that's it. He's choked him to death. Easy to blame it on him. You know, guys, isn't it funny that, and this is over in here, but we'll bypass it when I get to it, but
Sorry.
what about him saying that he was breathing, that he had a pulse?
Yeah.
The cops.
Yeah.
For a whole year, that's never been mentioned. For a whole year, it's never been mentioned that when the police were there, that they said he had a pulse
Mm-hmm.
and everything was okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when it went to trial, all of a sudden that come out. Isn't that suspicious? Now, Alvin Bragg and his department knew this. They knew. They had the tapes of these police officers checking and saying, yeah, he's breathing or he's got a pulse.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing where somebody, all these newscasters up to now, up to a week or two ago when the trial started,
Mm-hmm.
they said, choked him to death. Penny choked him to death. They act like he was dead when Penny got up, that he was dead. Nobody has said anything about him still being alive until the trial started and the defense brought it out that, hey, that's not justice, guys. That's being railroaded.
It's sad.
That's trying to get the verdict that suits you instead of letting justice. What happened to the blind lady? What happened to Lady Justice, who's blind, and she just goes by the evidence? See, she's not blind here. Somebody kept stuff from her, didn't let her see it all this time. All the jury needs is a reasonable doubt.
Well, there's 3 right there. I
3 or
mean,
4, yeah. Reasonable doubt. They've got it. There's plenty of, well, we're going to get to it, but let's just go ahead and talk. I'm going to talk to you anyway.
okay.
You had one medical examiner say that it's the chokehold.
Right.
Chokehold.
Right.
Causes death. Compression to the throat.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, if you look at that hold, you won't see no compression to the throat. You can't put compression to the throat when you've got a V in front of the trachea.
You want me?
Well, I wanted you to, we'll go over that when we get to the hold.
Okay.
We'll go over that.
Okay.
Sheila wants to show you something and after a while. But
We're talking about the 3 things
the
that
reasonable doubt.
reasonable doubt. There was 3 things.
Had illegal substance in his body, first
Right.
of all.
That was one.
Had drugs in his body. Had over 42 arrests. A lot of them against children.
Mm-hmm.
At least one of them against a child, according
There
to
you
the
go.
news.
Yeah.
Against the elderly man that he punched out, and against the elderly woman that he punched out.
Mm-hmm.
The last warrant that was never served on him
Right.
was for pushing a lady over the tracks there in front of a subway bus.
The train, yeah, the subway.
He threatened to kill everybody,
He was on their watch list already, it said.
had sickle cell,
And that he was a
psychotic.
threat to himself
Threat.
and other people.
Yeah.
So if he was on their watch list, and they had arrested him, from what I can understand, multiple times, took him to the hospital and did, things to try to help him. But still, if he was on their watch list and they knew how he was, something else should have been done.
Well, we're going to get to that. Did the system fail him? Did it? I don't know.
I don't either.
But we know that just because the system failed, the mental health system, the criminal justice system failed him, he should have been locked up and thrown away to key so he wouldn't hurt himself or others. At least he would have had food. He would have had shelter.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people would rather have that as anything.
Well, how long, I just have a question. When the police arrest someone and take them in and they place them in an institution for observation, how long do they stay in that place?
Well, initially,
30
I done it.
days?
No, 72-hour watch, and then they'll keep you
Okay.
for longer if they need to. And so
Oh, okay,
But the family has to sign. That was my question in our first video we ever made.
okay.
And I feel sorry for the families. Feel sorry for any
Sure.
family that's got victims and
Sure.
or that are turned into victims. But my question here would be, and no disrespect, even though it's going to sound like it, but where was the family? Where was his family? He's hungry. He's homeless. All these family members are here now. Where was the family? I'm disappointed.
So you're saying they should have came together and maybe
Of course. Did the family ever sign
have
a mental petition on him? Did the family ever ask? You know, they're complaining because, oh, he's homeless. Oh, he's got a mental condition. Well, he had a drug problem. He had a drug problem. If you're smoking stuff with pesticides on it and ingestion and stuff like that, that's probably enough to give you a mental problem. But if they're so concerned, why didn't somebody sign a mental petition? Or did they? And why wasn't something done with them? But stepping up now and loving family. Everybody you watch on TV after the courtrooms, they come out and they're a loving family. We loved them. We done this, we done that.
right.
Sometimes actions speak louder than words, though, to me.
Yeah.
If this man needed help that bad, why didn't somebody step up and give him a place to stay? Now, somebody says on one of these newscasts said that he got on a bus and he hollered and said he wanted something to eat. He was hungry. Well, they left out the part about him saying he was going to kill somebody or go to prison or didn't care. No, they left that out. They said he was hungry. Well, should have stuck his hand in his pocket. He had a blueberry muffin in there, big old blueberry muffin. You see him take out of his coat later on. I don't know if he was hungry because he had a muffin to eat. So he wasn't without something to eat. Can you overdose on synthetic weed? Of course. Of course you can. The medical examiner says she couldn't quantify it. Well, then how does she know if he had just a little bit of rat poison or pesticides or whatever they lace it with?
Yeah.
Whatever they spice it up with. If you can't quantify it and it's in your system illegally, short of somebody getting him down and saying, here, smoke this, smoke this. If he done it on his own, he ingested that on his own. No different than committing suicide. If you do something like that and smoke something like that and ingest something like that, and then you get on a subway and you holler, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
I'll kill you. You know, I was thinking, guys, earlier, and me and Sheila, we talk a lot between us, but I didn't mention this to you. You was doing something else, but imagine Sheila and I, we've never been on a subway.
No.
Some people says they've never been to the mountains and it scared them to death to go up in the mountains and all this and that. They always talk about that movie, Wrong Turn.
Yeah.
But can you see me and you on a New York subway and somebody gets on there hollering, I'll kill you?
That would scare the bejeebies
I don't care to go back to prison. How would we act? What would we do? We're from the mountains. I see somebody acting like that, whether it's in the mountains, whether it's on Main Street, or whether it's in New York.
Right. Be very cautious.
I'm going to act. Why do we wait to become victims? Do we wait? Jury? Hopefully the jury thinks about this. Do we wait until he pulls out a knife or a gun? Do we wait? Bang, bang.
Yeah.
Until we're assaulted or the little boy is hurt, a lady's hurt, and then we say, okay, let's try to get a hold of him. Him standing there swinging a blade around.
But then, he
didn't have a blade. He didn't have a bang bang.
No.
Did they know that?
No,
they didn't know that. They didn't know he'd been arrested 42 times. They didn't know he'd sucker punched women and elderly men. But they knew how he was acting then.
That's right. He was very...
I don't care what he had been charged with before.
Right.
Prior or anything else. You're looking at a man in front of you, gets on and throws his jacket down and says, I'll kill you.
What's going on at that time?
Listen, we're getting ready to fight. Because I'm not going to give you a chance to get to a gun or.
No, I would be very cautious of him, and I would have my gun handy just in
Why would it hurt? Why would it hurt? Well, you're in New York, so you can't carry a gun in New
Oh.
York.
Shoot, forgot that one.
New York respects Leosis, so I could, but you wouldn't need a gun.
Right,
You wouldn't need a gun if you done what Daniel Penny done.
right.
You don't need a bang bang. You just get the guy in a restraint, a rear restraint, take him to the ground and hold him there till the police comes. That's it.
But then you'd be in the same position as Mr. Penny is.
That's what he done. He just put him in a restraint and held him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the sad thing is, and we're so far ahead of our notes, but
Sorry.
the sad thing is that two other gentlemen joined in.
Mm-hmm.
Why wasn't they charged? You know, a lot of people has made this out to be race, white and black. The other two men are of color.
So,
One's Hispanic, at least, I believe. Why they, if we want to talk about race, and we're not racist,
by no
but if we
means.
want to talk about race, why was the white guy charged? You had 3 people there holding them.
Yeah, why wouldn't all 3?
Why wasn't all 3? Let the jury sort it out. Why do you start making deals with people and say, well, if you say this or if you say that, or you think them other 2 guys, or they're cowards, you think the other 2 guys are going to help hold him and wrestle with him? That Penny didn't need. Penny had his legs wrapped around him.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a leg hold, and he was in a rear neck restraint. He wasn't going nowhere. They didn't have to. They could have left his arms alone. They didn't have to bother him. Penny didn't need them. They joined in voluntarily on their own, just like Penny
To
did.
help, yeah.
Why wasn't they charged? Why they charged the white guys in a black guy's death? It's wrong all the way around. It's wrong.
And they need to let the justice system do what it's supposed to do. That's why it was invented, was to protect and serve everyone, not just a select few and stuff. But evidently, I don't know. It's sad.
We went over this in the last video.
Okay.
K2 spice is becoming the drug of choice. It's cheap.
Wow.
Just some weed and rat poison or pesticide a person can smoke
Makes no sense.
and offers a high. K2 or spice is not safe naturally and can have many serious side effects and even death. On
Well,
top of that,
Put rat poison with it. I mean,
that's the truth. Now, we don't know that he had rat poison on him. We don't know
Right.
what he had.
exactly.
And evidently, according to, I didn't hear no testimony to the contrary. I wish this trial should have been publicized. This trial should have been out in the open.
Happened.
This trial has got national attention. But in order that they can sweep it under the rug, if there is a guilty verdict,
Oh, Lord,
they didn't do that. This trial should have been up instead of just satisfying one group of people
Mhm.
that says we'll shut the subway down. He should have been shown for the other group that feels that he was justified doing what he's doing. On top of that, it can be incredibly addictive and can result in extreme withdrawals for people who discontinued after prolonged use. Was he looking for a fix, guys? Did he need food? Or did he need money for a fix? He had a muffin in his pocket.
Yeah.
May have been a muffin, but it's food. When you're hungry, you'll eat anything. Did he need money for a fix? Prolonged use, you can become addicted to it. That's why he was labeled as a drug addict. That's why when the cops got there, they gave him Narcan, thinking he was overdosing.
Okay.
And he very well could have been. Active outstanding warrants on Neely.
At the time, yeah.
We covered this in our first video.
Exactly.
Why all the baby photos? Why all the grade school and high school photos? Good looking baby, good looking young man. Too bad he didn't stay like that.
Yeah.
But those photos are deceitful. This was a grown but man. You should say another word, but I don't say that no more. But he was grown. Nearly died because of other things going on in his body. Nearly died because of his actions. Nearly died of things that he was doing, had done, going to do, said he was going to do. Our words have consequences.
Yeah.
Spice is a synthetic drug that is made up in illegal labs with no quality control checks. It's like cocaine. When they cut cocaine and you get some cocaine that's 50% pure and 80% pure, and people was overdosing years ago. Because some of it they'd bring over and they wasn't cut. They were getting 100% cocaine. Some
Now,
people.
what do you mean by? Because there's some people might not know what you mean by.
Well, you take cocaine, you mix baking soda or something else with it. You'll take a 5-pound bag of cocaine, a 5-pound bag of baking soda, mix it together, shake it, stir it, and all this and that. Now you've cut it. It's 50%.
So it's not pure.
Now you take that 50%, you made all this other cocaine, and you're selling it, and you're a street dealer. You take that cocaine, you buy a pound of it.
Okay.
16 ounces, and you take those 16 ounces and you say, hey, I'm going to cut this with some baking soda. I'm going to try to double my money. So you take those 16 ounces, you mix more flour with that, and you shake it up, stir it up, put it in your little baggies, and you sell it. And now you've got, instead of 16 ounces, you've got 32 ounces. So you've doubled your money. Some people get that cocaine, they say, oh, this is no good. Well, it's been cut so many times.
Ah, okay.
But there's sometimes that it comes and people don't have a chance to cut it. They just sell it.
Straight, yeah.
And they're getting straight cocaine. And the last time they got it, they could do 2 or 3 lines. It didn't bother them. Now they're doing 2 or 3 lines and they're overdosing. They're getting pure. Same way with this stuff. They don't know if they're getting the stuff that they're lacing it with. Did they lace it more on this end or on that end? Or This is why quality, quantity, and combinations of its ingredients can vary from batch to batch.
Exactly.
Variations in quality and chemical composition change and can result in spice drug side effects ranging from mild to extremely dangerous. As the use of K2 prolongs, these effects can get worse with time and even lead to death. Say no to drugs. Demo in the restraint of a choke. Justice for Sergeant Daniel Penny. You know, guys, we demonstrated once before in that choke. Go ahead, Sheila. You can move your chair to the side. And let Sheila, don't go into shock there when you see that head.
Oh.
Sheila's going to get me right here's what Penny done. He got him come up behind him and got him in a rear choke hold, or a rear restraint hold, I'm sorry. What I was looking at is the elbow.
My elbow.
See this V? That V right there. Through here is my fingers. I can get my fingers through. Well, listen to me talk. She'll put pressure on.
Okay.
And I'm still talking. You can't talk if there's pressure on my larynx. She's putting pressure right there because I can feel the blood flow in my carotid and my jugular. So I'm already feeling the effects of getting dizzy. In fact, I'm getting a little headache right here in this eye because of the blood flow. And that's what happens. Now, if you try to choke the person, turn around here like that. Now go ahead and choke. Now she's choking now. And now, okay. That's a choke. Now you start choking somebody and he's going to try to come out of there. But if you just got him in a rear restraint like that, now watch what she does with my head. She's pushing my head forward. The reason she's pushing my head forward, and is that on your bicep here?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Okay.
You just can't tell.
Okay. But as she's pushing my head forward, that's protecting my trachea. Let me show you something from the front. Watch Sheila choke me, or I'll choke Sheila. I'm gonna choke Sheila. Here I go. Look here what she's doing. Tell me, go ahead and do me now. She's getting ready to choke me, and as she reaches up, after go ahead and choke. She's not choking me.
It's hard to do that because it's chin.
I'm pushing my chin down.
Which is
The
protection.
same way you do with your head. Person that's got the other person in the sleeper, or the rear choke, the rear neck restraint, blood choke,
Right.
is stopping the blood flow and the oxygen flow to the brain.
Yep.
Now you do that for a little bit, you let up. Do it for a little bit, you let up. They're not getting out of that hold. I told you there's only one way to get out of that hold, And that's why you take them to the ground, because it's safer with you on the ground on your back with your legs wrapped around them. Only way I've ever seen, unless there's some more martial artists out there that's learned something
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And that is if you're standing up to take and run them into the door, a corner of something, run their backbone hard as you can, straight back into a shelf, into anything you
Something
can,
pointed.
and they'll let go. But if you take that person to the ground and hold them, right, Sheila?
I agree with
Sheila's
that.
done
You
it
got
enough.
better control over them like that on the ground.
Sheila gets me in a rear neck restraint and takes me to the ground, and all you do is drop down to one knee, and they'll follow you.
Same with him as well.
The same way of anybody we've ever taught.
Exactly.
We've taught thousands years ago. When your life's been threatened, do you really care if the aggressor is white, black, homeless, rich, mentally ill, or just having a bad day? Do you really care? How many of us get ready to get robbed or assaulted or threatened to be killed? And you say, wait a minute, are you mentally ill? Wait, are you homeless? That's not something you do, guys. This man was a hero, and he stepped up when everybody else was in fear.
Mm-hmm.
Even the other two guys didn't step up until after he done took Mr. Neely to the ground. And he's saying, I'll kill you. I don't care to go back to prison.
Mm-hmm.
Who says that? Who does that? And how are we supposed to act? How would a reasonable person act? I'll kill you, and I don't care to go back to prison. Like he wants everyone to know. Sergeant Penny took him at his word.
Exactly. That's what I was saying.
That he was a threat. Sergeant Penny protected himself and those on the subway. Moral of the story is, don't threaten people with bodily harm or death.
Are you okay?
Yeah. There may be a hero in amongst you, and he may step up.
Might be. You never know. Anything, I took him at his word when he said that he was going to kill you. When he got on there and said, I'm going to kill you, I would be thinking, oh my,
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you take a person at their word like that? You don't know them from Adam. And if they're on there having a fit, you can't. To me, I wouldn't look at it as, well, he's having a bad day, yada, yada, yada.
Not saying he's going to kill him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a bad day.
That's something
a suicidal day. That's a day
that's scary.
The news footage there on that last page down at the bottom said, we watched it a while ago, the news said, he was yelling.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy says, last time I checked, it wasn't a death penalty for yelling at people. Well, what was he yelling?
He yelled, yeah.
What was he yelling? Was he hollering, oh, help, help?
Oh, my Lanta.
Oh, my Lanta. See, you won't put somebody in chokehold for hollering, oh, my Lanta. But now, if you're hollering, I'll kill you.
Oh, my Lanta.
I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Then you might get put in a rear neck restraint to control you till the police get there.
Yeah.
It's some of these distorting facts on the news over the last year that's really caused a lot of this. The news just doesn't, fake news tells the news in a way that they think it will please the biggest part of the people or the loudest people.
Or get more views.
News interviewed one guy on the news and said he was a friend of Neely's.
Mm-hmm.
Said last time he checked, it wasn't death penalty for yelling. Depends on what you're yelling.
Yeah.
I have a bomb. I have a bang bang. I have a knife. Or a simple straight to the point. I'll kill you. That's straight to the point. You don't have to holler, you've got this, this, or this.
Mm-hmm.
You holler, I'll kill you. That's alarming enough. How are you going to do it? Has he got something? Do you wait and see what he's going to pull out? Or do you act? A Marine, not just a Marine, any veteran. Any veteran.
There you go.
Any veteran will act. Too bad his friends didn't give him a place to stay and feed him. This guy said he's a good friend of his. Maybe then he wouldn't have been homeless. Everybody's complaining now over him being homeless. Why? I have a feeling the family's not homeless. Maybe he could have paid for his drug addiction while he was at it. You know what? If this guy was such a friend, maybe he could have went ahead and bought his drugs for him. Maybe made him have had a better day that day. Maybe he wouldn't have gone on the subway threatening people. Had he had a place to live, food to eat, and drugs, that seems like that's what made Mr. Neely happy. He's content. So-called friend said the kids loved him, Neely, and that he looked just like Michael Jackson.
This was in his younger days, when he was doing the street performance. Yeah.
On this day, at least one woman and her child were in fear for their lives.
Exactly.
We heard them testify.
Yeah.
Along with others.
Right.
Neely wasn't acting like Michael Jackson on that day on the subway. He wasn't yelling, beat it, beat it. He was yelling, I'll kill you. He didn't look like that beautiful baby picture that keeps being shown on TV. On that day, he looked more like a homeless, dirty, desperate drug addict needing a fix. Go ahead, Sheila. I got to blow my nose.
It says, let's see here. People. He was acting and doing what he thought he needed to do to get what he wanted from those people, whether it was money, whether it was food, whatever that he was wanting at that time. So that's why he got on there yelling and screaming, figuring if he scared them enough, they would give him money
Of course.
to give.
He had done it before. He'd done it before and he got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
They say Penny killed Neely with his bare hands. Could Neely have killed someone else with his bare hands? Maybe the woman or the child? If Penny done it, guys, you ever seen any of the video? Google, YouTube, Neely, Jordan Neely fighting on the streets of New York. Jordan Neely resisting arrest. Jordan Neely. Look at some of these videos. This guy was a street fighter. This guy could fight. You can watch him and tell. He was a fighter.
In one video, a gentleman was watching him do the Michael Jackson imitation thing, and I don't know.
He insulted. He said something to him.
Is that what it was?
That he didn't look like Michael Jackson or something.
And then Neely went.
He jerked his shirt off, ripped his shirt off, and went after him.
Yeah. So.
Watch some of the videos. Michael Jackson fighting. This guy was on the street. Yeah. I can just see me getting on a subway. We talked about that. Behavior subway. Guys, if that's normal behavior, some people say, oh, that's normal. That's normal behavior. Well, daggone. You guys are not normal if you don't put a stop to it. If there's not more decent people on a subway train, then there are bad drug addicts, homeless people, then, man alive, I know people don't want to get involved. But if you've got the majority and you're on there together, you can't let one or two people do that. That's why they're doing it for. And they're even going to get worse.
Yeah.
And I won't say that, but if they do get worse, if they find Sergeant Penny guilty and it gets worse, then shame on you all. You had your chance and it will get worse. People shouldn't have to be in fear over minorities. I'm not talking about minorities as far as race. I'm talking about minorities as far as homeless, drug addicts, people that don't have a life and don't want you to have a life. This is not the way 99.9% of Americans act. This is not the way people act. This one video had 162,000 views of this guy taking up for Neely.
Wow.
Never once did it mention Neely was still alive when the cops got there. Never once did it mention that the cops had given Neely Narcan for a possible drug overdose. Why didn't the detectives tell Penny at the start of the interview that Neely was dead?
I don't know. Why didn't they do that? I saw that.
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Penny volunteered. I mean, because he didn't know. He was just sat down telling him what happened. He didn't think he needed an attorney.
Well, he said he was protecting his life and other lives there. That's all you've got. If a person feels that their life or other people's lives are in danger, you're allowed to act. But what would have been so wrong about those two detectives saying, hey, the guy died, what happened, So he would know. Why would you betray? Why would you're police officers, you're detectives. Why would that have been such a secret?
It still wouldn't have changed what he had done
Were they protecting themselves? Not doing mouth to mouth? Or was the police department not properly equipped with pocket mask? A pocket mask. Even the country here in Kentucky, even small departments, everybody carries the CPR mask, the little pouch with a mask on it. I've got a picture of it in here somewhere, but it didn't come out good because I run Sheila's printer out of ink. But there it is. It's in a little red container, and you put it over their mouth and your mouth. And it keeps anything from coming back up. If they regurgitate, it stops it. So you can't catch a disease or no liquids exchange mouth to mouth. Why is that? Did they not have not one officer in the New York City Police Department that was there on the scene that day? Not one officer had a mask?
Good question.
Maybe it's because it took 20 minutes for EMS to get on the scene. 20 minutes. We live in the mountains. We go over mountains, through mountains, all this and that. 20 minutes? You're in New York City? Wow.
It's a busy place.
While Kenny lay there with no air after Narcan had been administered. Narcan, it says that after you give somebody Narcan, you watch them for 2 hours to make sure that the naloxone doesn't stop their breathing or complicate their breathing.
Exactly. Allergic reaction.
Narcan makes your tongue swell up, makes your mouth swell up, makes your throat swell up. Did this medical examiner research Narcan? Did she know that Narcan, if she was doing an autopsy on this fella and his throat's swollen, was it from a chokehold? Or was it from the Narcan? That is one of the side effects of Narcan, of naloxone. We could go on and on. Sure, you, the viewer, could also. I'm sure you all got thoughts.
Yeah. What do y'all think, guys? I know we've asked it before, but I think, like Fred does, that he's a hero, and he shouldn't have been charged.
Please post in your comments, it says, and pray for a not guilty verdict, or at least a hung jury. At least maybe one person. All it takes is one person. Hang that jury. Guilty, not guilty, not guilty. I don't care how much stress you put under. I don't care. Have the intestinal fortitude to stand up and say, hey, not going to do it. Not going. If I was on that bus, I would want him to stand up and take up for me or my family.
That's for sure. I would have been glad that he did, that somebody did. Because I would have been terrified.
Of course. I'm a grown man. No doubt Penny was. I don't care if you're a Marine. You don't show your fear then, but afterwards you look and think. Somebody asked a while ago, and I didn't even write it down, but somebody asked, why did he hold him there so long? Why didn't he turn him loose? Well, go Google YouTube videos of Jordan Neely fighting and watch them. Watch this guy fight. Now, I'm going to tell you, we used to teach martial arts. We used to teach full contact back in the 80s.
Right.
Full contact karate.
Right.
We've had fighters come in there, my brother and I, and I promoted the fights, and my brother trained the kickboxers. We've had fighters come in there, could stand there on the ground and kick their foot straight up above it, like Superfoot Bill Wallace.
Yep.
Do a complete split. Beautiful.
Standing.
But they get in a ring with just a street fighter, somebody just right off the street, not even having martial arts training. And once somebody started punching at them or kicking at them, they would turn to butter or Jell-O. So we used to say, I'd much rather have a man with some intestinal fortitude that don't know anything than you would that can do the splits
Yeah.
or kick over his head. And once the poop hits the fan, he loses it. And this guy here, Jordan Neely, from the videos that I've seen, and I've trained
Quite a
several,
few.
back in the day, he's a fighter. He would have made a great and that's what my brother Barry and I and Sheila did with our karate students, especially the kickboxers. We took them off the street. Some of them that would have been probably had a hard life. They turned out to be police officers. Couple of them's been Secret Service.
I was gonna say,
Couple of them's been embassy duties.
Yeah.
In the Marines. Different. So, but this guy, people ask, why didn't he turn him loose sooner? Well, if you've ever seen Jordan Neely fight, you'd know why. Why would he want to turn somebody loose that he's got in a restraint hold, just holding them there, not hurting him, and he's not getting hurt? Why would he want to turn them loose, let them get up, and then go at it?
Possible hurt somebody at that point.
Possibly get hurt. Neely, just because you're a Marine, just because you martial arts, just because that doesn't. There's people out there that can naturally fight, or they fought all their life.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to have an organized class to know how to fight. They just have to do it a lot. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Do we really care if the aggressor is white, black, homeless, rich or poor, mentally ill, or having a bad day? We don't care. And Neely, or Penny didn't care that day. He didn't care what. All he seen was, I'll kill you.
Threat.
He seen that little child over there with his mother and her trying to hide him.
Yeah.
He saw these people's faces, the ones that come up and thanked him afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
and he took action.
Yeah, I agree.
With anything else?
No.
Sheila's so good about it. She's such a good debater.
Yeah.
We sat over there in the apartment, and she can
I can
rattle stuff off, and she can tell me things. And I said, babe, that's great, because I hadn't even thought of that, or I hadn't. And I tell her, I said, let's go make a video, and you just hold that thought, because I want you to.
Then I clam up.
You don't clam up. But Sheila's got some good points, and from a different perspective than a police officer, or, well, she's a martial artist, but
Right.
then at least a police officer than I would have. And like he wants everyone to know that he's been to prison. Sergeant Denny took him at his word and took him at his threat. Penny protected those on the subway.
A lot of this we've done covered early on.
Yeah,
That we
yeah.
thought. I still have 2 videos. Would you like for me to
If you don't care.
play one of those?
Yeah.
Does it matter which one?
No.
I think, guys, the first one I'm going to play is going to be, I can't see, this right here. Let's play this one here. Have I done that one already? I did, didn't I? And yeah, let's do this one.
Guest calls the Penny trial a miscarriage of justice. Former NYPD lieutenant and U.S. Army veteran Dr. Darren Porcher joins us now. Great to see you.
Great to have me, Charlie.
Yeah, so, just for viewers back home, why, step back and give a big picture. Why is this trial? Explain why this Daniel Penny trial is such a miscarriage of justice.
The reason why this is a miscarriage of justice is because crime is running rampant in the city of New York. The social
That's sad.
contract is not being upheld. The NYPD is at a deficit in connection with the personnel. So they have yet to backfill the personnel to have on the street to protect us as common citizens. So when we look at Daniel Penny's actions in protecting people that didn't have the ability to protect themselves, it really sets a bad precedent for us as the common citizen to step in and help individuals that are in fear of a lunatic that's on a subway, such as this particular case. The Manhattan DA is prosecuting a case that should not have come to fruition in a courtroom.
Wow, that's a black guy. What about that? That's somebody that's not looking at it as racial. That's somebody that's not looking at it on the monetary value that maybe we can sue.
Right.
What's in it for us? That's somebody that's looking at it from a legal aspect as far as being a police officer and what's good for the citizens of New York and what's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. That was interesting.
Roughly 6 minutes, Jordan Neely was pinned to the subway floor in a chokehold that ended with him lying still. You know, this was a headline on the news.
Mm-hmm.
For 6 minutes. Do you really think you would have to hold somebody for 6 minutes in a chokehold to kill them? You don't. It won't take nowhere near 6 minutes if you wanted to kill somebody, especially in a chokehold, to do it. That wasn't a chokehold. That was a rear restraint. That's not what killed him. A forensic pathologist testified Thursday in defense of his military-trained charged with killing Neely. Commuter charged. This other doctor, you know, isn't it funny that you've got one doctor that says, oh, he died of a chokehold. This other doctor says, no, he died of sickle cell. He died of schizophrenia. Where he's fighting so hard and the sickle cell kicked in. The harder you fight, the worse your sickle cell gets.
It becomes, yeah.
He died of drugs. He could have died from this or that. Didn't die from the chokehold, he said. So now you've got alternative views there.
You've got two different.
And one of them's an expert. One of them's autopsied so many thousands and thousands of bodies.
Yes.
He's so good at it. He's an expert witness. That's what he does. He goes around and tells. Who you gonna believe? Who you gonna believe? Well, you know, I've said before, always as a cop, I'd rather let an innocent or a guilty person go is to ever put an innocent person in jail or run his reputation or run his criminal record.
Exactly.
Who you gonna believe? You believe the one that says that he didn't die from the chokehold. You give him the benefit of the doubt. You don't just put a man in jail. You don't just charge a man and run his reputation because a certain group of people, it's like a win and lose to them. It's not about justice or injustice. It's about what can we do? The louder that we holler, the more response we're going to get. The more people we've got with us, the more weight we're going to carry. It's not about justice unless it was about them. And then they'd wish to the good Lord above that, oh, I wish some people would go home. I wish they'd quit doing that because I'm innocent.
Again, if he didn't have the disease and he didn't have the drugs in his system, and the Narcan, especially the disease and the drugs, I don't think it would have compounded as bad.
Well, Narcan says that if you're allergic to naloxone, you can't breathe. Your you're breathless. Which means you can't breathe.
Right.
Any of those 3 or 4. Penny's defense says he acted to protect frightened passengers and was trying only to restrain Neely, not kill him.
To keep him from hurting himself or someone else. Yeah.
He never once come around and struck him, called him a bad name, called him a racist name. Never once. White Marine veterans' reaction to Neely, who was black, homeless, and mentally ill, has become a flashpoint in national divides over race, urban life, and boundary between self-defense and vigilantism. Man's leaving his college class to be an architect, going to the gym to work out.
Minding his own business.
Yeah.
You know, he was listening to music.
Not a vigilante.
No.
He stepped up because people needed him. They needed somebody to step up that day.
He did what he felt like he needed
If
to
it
do.
hadn't been black and white, he'd been a hero. If it would have been black on black, white on white, or black on white, it'd been okay if it'd been black. And the white guy was to see that he was acting like that, and rightly so. I don't care what color he is. I don't care what color he was. He was a threat that day. They didn't see nothing but a threat.
Exactly.
I don't think his color had a thing to do with it. Penny, imagine how many times Penny or Neely had done this in the past. We'll never know.
And got away with it?
Yeah. How many times has he got on the bus, took his coat, started carrying on and all this and that, and then people gave him $5 or $10 or whatever. You know, here in Kentucky, they stand out here on the side of the road with a sign. have baby to feed, no money or this and that, but stop them offering them a job, not interested. I guess in New York, you just get on the subway and start making threats. And somebody will give you some money to get you to calm down. And how many times did he do that and get away with it?
Mm-hmm.
The attorney brought to witness, shed light on the argument that this new medical examiner says that had nothing to do with the chokehold. It was to do with sickle cell
Mm-hmm.
and schizophrenic, drugs, K2. Among the discrepancies, he said, was the location and extent of the bruising on Neely's neck. Guys, you know, the same thing that you get the little blood spots that you get from being choked, asphyxiated, you get from sickle cell. You get so how can you distinguish? As far as I understand it, I could be wrong.
That's a good point as well.
But as far as I understand it, from what I've been reading and watching the news, you get the same pinpoint blood spots that you do from sickle cell.
Really?
How can you distinguish and say, well, he's asphyxiated, he's compression to his throat, he's choked. Compression to his throat because you see bruising on the throat or swelling of the throat. Well, Narcan causes swelling of the throat. There's so many substances. There's so many things here that brings into play.
That brings in doubt.
Do we send a man to prison? Do we find a man guilty and put a felony on him the rest of his life? And no doubt, hopefully, if he is convicted, the president will pardon him, and I believe he will. But why? Why do we have to go that route? Because he's not going to be there to pardon everybody that thinks about standing up for somebody one day. Medical records. He told the jurors that Neely's medical records and bystander video don't show telltale signs, known types of chokeholds. It's not a chokehold, guys, among discrepancies. In your opinion, did Mr. Penny choke Mr. Neely to death? Defense lawyer Stephen Reiser asked. No. The doctor answered, who has worked as a medical examiner for counties, governments in Florida and Texas. Did it cause Mr. Neely's death? And he said no. He said Neely died from the combined effects of synthetic marijuana, schizophrenia, his struggle, and restraint, and a blood condition that can lead to fatal complications during exertion. He's fighting.
Exactly. That's why I was asking.
Sickle cell.
Saying it would compound it, make it worse, speed up the process
Sickle cell.
the sickle cell. So
chokehold did not cause the death. Pathologist said it wasn't a choke, it was a rear restraint, but it didn't cause it. It don't matter. His testimony sharply contrasted with the findings of Dr. Cynthia Harris, the city medical examiner who performed the autopsy. She told jurors earlier in the trial that Neely suffered an asphyxiated death as a result of a chokehold.
that could have also been asphyxiated death from the sickle cell, cutting off the oxygen,
Overexerting himself.
Yeah.
You see him squirming and fighting. He's trying to get loose.
Exactly.
Two other guys jumped in, wanting to make sure that he didn't get loose and tried to hold him down more. I don't think he could have got out of that hold no matter what, but two other ones thought he was going to get loose. They didn't want him getting back up. If he didn't have a weapon.
You that they were all afraid of him.
You're sure they was afraid. They wouldn't have been trying to help. She called it profoundly improbable that Neely's death was due to synthetic marijuana use or the sickle cell. That's what Harris, the medical examiner in New York, she said she found it profoundly improbable that Neely died of synthetic marijuana, K2, spice, marijuana with some kind of substance, usually rat poison or
whatever they use these days,
pesticides, some kind of pesticides put on it to get their high. She felt it was very improbable that sickle cell, which also cuts off the oxygen, or the K2 drug,
I think in one thing there, she stated it doesn't matter if he had enough to take down an elephant.
Yeah.
But
Yes, it
it
would matter.
would.
Of course it would. Of course it
That
would.
would definitely,
How can a medical
Play a role.
examiner looking for the truth want to go to one cause? She had them right there in front of her. She had the sickle cell. She had all this stuff that she could sneeze, baby.
oh, bless you. Yeah, that's what I was saying about how it all three of those compounded it and made it, the stress of it all made it worse and made it, go quickly. The restrictions of the throat or the, lack of oxygen was because he was fighting. Because your heart, beats, pumps faster, and then,
Within the medical examiner's office, the consensus was unanimous that Neely had died from the chokehold. Harris said, adding, there are no alternative reasonable explanations. Really? She says that they had a meeting with other medical examiners in New York that also worked there with the police and Alvin Bragg and all that. We know how it all works. Everybody in your county or your state, city, whatever, everybody knows each other. Somebody really going to stand up and say, no, it could have been this, this, or this. But if we say that, subways are going to be shut down. They're going to start. There's no alternative reasonable explanations, really. But to us, reasonable explanation would be Narcan, would be sickle cell, would be the K2 and how much and how bad it was mixed.
what it was mixed with. Yeah,
I'm going to go over this. You
okay,
got two different people here.
okay,
Just no names, just listen. One of them's a veteran, one of them's not a veteran. One of them has a spotless, clean record. One of them's got at least 42 arrests. One of them's got a job and goes to college. One of them's unemployed, always been unemployed. One of them is non-drugs, doesn't fool with drugs. The other one's a drug addict. One of them's a non-assaulted ever, an elderly person. The other one's assaulted elderly people different times. One of them's never assaulted a woman. The other one's assaulted women. Women, plural. One of them's never had any warrants on them. The other one's got active arrest warrants at the time. One of them's never pushed nobody in front of a subway, train, bus, whatever they are. The other one's pushed a woman in front of down on the tracks in front of a bus.
exactly.
One of them has no mental issues. The other one has a history of mental issues. One of them turns himself in when they get a warrant on him. The other one is still on the warrant, still on the run, avoiding arrest when he dies. Maybe state medical examiner or maybe state mental health failed Neely. Maybe criminal justice system failed Neely. Maybe drug addiction that Neely himself caused failed Neely. But we can't hold Penny responsible for others or his own shortcomings. This guy caused his own demise. He caused it himself. He might as well took I got you. Bill seen that elbow come over there. 30 years old, had a muffin in his jacket, wasn't too hungry. Made distressing comments.
Yep.
Somebody said he made distressing comments. Said he was hungry. No, he made distressing comment was, I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Put politics aside. When you put politics aside, there are no charges. Funny that they charge the white guy. Everybody wants to call race. Everybody wants to say, oh, everything's racist anymore. And it is, it seems like. But if it's racist, why'd they charge the white guy? If this would have been the other way around, then they would have been saying, why charge the black guy? Or would they have been saying that? Would they have been saying that? When two other guys were assisting in the arrest,
Right.
in restraining Neely, two other guys.
And neither one of them were charged with anything, right?
Ain't that funny, babe? Ain't that funny that you had three men holding
Help.
Neely down But only one of them, the white guy, is charged, and they want to holler racism. Was on a watch list. I heard Sheila say that earlier.
Mhm.
He was
Yeah,
on a watch list,
Yep.
actually on a list of someone who was considered dangerous to himself and others.
Exactly. That's what they said.
Manhattan DA took it on himself. He didn't take it to a grand jury. He took it on himself to file charges initially on Penny. Do we have to wait on Neely to assault someone?
Exactly.
Sheila, you got one more
I got
video?
one more video of a
We're
gentleman,
almost done, guys.
on a gentleman that, nobody stepped up to stop him and he ended up hurting people.
Okay.
Jordan Neely had an open warrant for his arrest. This comes as career criminals continue to terrorize New York streets. This week, an NYPD officer and bystander were shot, allegedly by a man with 17 priors. And
Wow.
3 others were killed in a stabbing spree after the alleged suspect was let out just weeks ago.
So he was arrested or whatever.
After he stabbed 3 different innocent people.
Well,
One of them was fishing on the lake there, on the river.
Well, he stabbed 3 different people, but they said he was let out 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
From jail or
Yeah.
from,
From
a
jail.
mental facility. And
But he was
why was he
also,
let out?
but they also want to emphasize that he's homeless. Guys, being homeless doesn't give you an excuse to commit crimes. I don't care if you're homeless or live in a mansion. You can't do bad things to other people.
It's sad. All the way around.
It is.
Sad.
And guys, comment below. I know there's very few probably going to watch these videos. It just seems like the human interest stories don't get that much interest. This is definitely a guy
Who's a
that
hero.
needs our prayers and support. This is a fellow that stepped up
Mhm.
when nobody else did. And because he's white, because he's in New York with Alvin Bragg, who's black and seems to, it's funny that the very people that hollers racist and claims other things is the very ones that's racist against other people. Marines are not racist. Marines are green. Neely probably, or not Neely, but
Mary Nicholas. Sorry about that.
they probably serve. I had it on Do Not Disturb.
Oh, did you? Well, it should have came through then.
Penny probably served with as many blacks,
Mm-hmm.
Indians, Hispanics as whites. And again, there ain't no, well, it's right here at me. Yeah.
When you were in the Marine.
And that's just one.
Yeah.
But here's there's just one at the Marine Corps ball in probably 1977. Yeah, that's me in the middle, but that's some of the best friends I've ever had in my life. Still friends with them today.
Yeah.
The ones that's
That
not,
are
some of
still-
them deceased now.
Right.
And we can go drag it out, guys.
Nope.
If you you have any contacts with anybody in New York there, protest or whatever to gain attention, justice for Penny, I wish we could go up there. The case is rested.
Yeah.
Defense has rest.
Right.
So all they've got now, I don't think they're coming back till sometime in December.
Okay.
So all they'll have is their closing arguments, and then they'll have to give it to the jury.
Mm-hmm. Lord, I hope it works
And
out.
hopefully everybody do the right thing. Go with the evidence instead of pressure from one race or the other, one people or the other, one political view or the other. Go with the evidence. Go with the reasonable doubt. Is there reasonable doubt whether he was choked, whether it was sickle cell, heart attack, K2, spice, Narcan, naloxone? You got it, baby.
All right. God bless each and every one of you all. Thank you for tuning in and watching us and always being faithful. We appreciate that. Like I've said many times, we can't do without you. So we definitely appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, and share. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
And as Sheila usually says, God
God
bless.
bless.
All right.